Have you ever wondered why the most insightful people you know can't seem to recognize their own brilliance? You know, those friends who give life-changing advice but genuinely believe they're nothing special? If you're nodding your head right now, there's a good chance you're thinking about an INFJ, or maybe you're one yourself. Here's the thing that'll blow your mind. INFJs make up less than 2% of the population, yet they're often the ones who transform lives, create revolutionary art, and solve problems nobody else even noticed. But ask them about their achievements? They'll probably change the subject faster than you can say personality type. It's like watching Superman convince himself he's just Clark Kent, except this time, the superhero genuinely believes the disguise is the real deal. The INFJ paradox, seeing everything except themselves. Let's get real for a second. INFJs are walking contradictions, and I mean that in the best way possible. They've got this almost supernatural ability to understand what makes other people tick. They can walk into a room and immediately sense who's having a bad day, who's falling in love, and who's about to quit their job, all without a single word being spoken. It's like they're equipped with emotional X-ray vision. But here's where it gets weird. Turn that laser-sharp perception inward. Suddenly, it's like looking through frosted glass. These are the same people who can predict your life trajectory based on a 5-minute conversation, yet they'll spend hours doubting whether their own contributions matter. They're basically emotional wizards who forgot they have magic powers. This isn't just modesty we're talking about here. It's something deeper, more ingrained in how their minds work. INFJs process the world through what psychologists call introverted intuition. Basically, they're constantly absorbing patterns and connections that most folks don't even know exist. But this superpower comes with a catch. When you're always focused on understanding the bigger picture and everyone else's place in it, you kind of forget to save a spot for yourself. The perfectionist curse. Why good enough never feels good enough. You want to know what keeps INFJs up at night? It's not usually worry about tomorrow's meeting or that awkward thing they said 5 years ago, though that happens too. It's the gap between what they envision and what they create. See, INFJs live in this constant state of it could be better, and I'm not talking about healthy ambition here. Picture this. An INFJ writes something absolutely brilliant, the kind of work that makes other people stop and reconsider their entire worldview. But all they can see are the imperfections. That metaphor that could have been stronger. That transition that feels slightly off. That conclusion that doesn't quite capture the full essence of what they wanted to say. While everyone else is applauding, they're already planning version 2.0 in their heads. This perfectionism isn't just about high standards. It's about having a vision so clear, so vivid, that reality always falls short. INFJs can see potential everywhere. In people, in projects, in possibilities. But when it comes to their own work, that gap between vision and reality feels like failure, even when they're succeeding beyond most people's wildest dreams. The really messed up part? This perfectionism becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They hold back from sharing their gifts because nothing ever feels ready. They got half-finished novels that could change lives, business ideas that could revolutionize industries, and insights that could heal relationships, all gathering dust because they're not perfect yet. The comparison trap, measuring greatness by the wrong standards. Here's something that'll make you laugh and cry at the same time. INFJs are constantly comparing their insides to everyone else's outsides. They see the confident presenter at work and think, I could never do that, completely forgetting that they just spent 3 hours helping that same presenter work through their crippling anxiety about public speaking. Society's got this weird obsession with extroverted success, doesn't it? We celebrate the loudest voice in the room, the person with the most followers, the one who can work the crowd like a professional entertainer. And INFJs? They're usually in the corner having a life-changing conversation with someone who really needed it, thinking they're not contributing anything meaningful. The truth is, INFJs measure greatness differently than the world does, but they don't realize that their measuring stick is actually the more valuable one. While everyone else is counting likes and followers, INFJs are counting the number of people they've genuinely helped. While others are chasing promotions, INFJs are chasing purpose. But because the world doesn't hand out awards for most souls touched or deepest conversations facilitated, they assume they're falling short. The helper's dilemma. Everyone else's success matters more. You know what's both beautiful and heartbreaking about INFJs? They're the ultimate hype squad for everyone except themselves. They'll spend hours crafting the perfect recommendation letter for a colleague, stay up all night helping a friend through a crisis, or dedicate months to a cause they believe in, all while their own dreams collect dust on the shelf. It's not that they don't have ambitions. Oh boy, do they have ambitions. But there's this voice in their head that says everyone else's needs are more urgent, more important, more worthy of attention. They've internalized this idea that being selfless means being selfless, literally less of a self. They mistake self-care for selfishness and self-promotion for arrogance. Here's the kicker. INFJs are often the catalyst for other people's success stories. That friend who finally left their toxic relationship? An INFJ probably spent months gently guiding them toward that realization. That colleague who got promoted? An INFJ likely coached them through every challenge along the way. But when these success stories get told, INFJs are rarely the main character. They're the unnamed friend in the acknowledgments, if they're mentioned at all. The intuition burden. Knowing without knowing how you know. Imagine having a GPS system in your brain that always knows the right direction but can never explain the route. That's what it's like being an INFJ. They'll have these gut feelings about people and situations that turn out to be spookily accurate, but ask them to explain their reasoning? Good luck with that. This creates a massive confidence problem. In a world that values data, facts, and logical arguments, INFJs are operating on pure intuition. They know things, but they can't always prove how they know them. So when they're sitting in a meeting and their gut is screaming that a project is headed for disaster, they often stay quiet. Not because they're wrong, they're usually right, but because "I just have a feeling" doesn't fly in most boardrooms. The really frustrating part is watching their predictions come true time and time again, yet still doubting themselves the next time. It's like having a superpower that you're convinced is just coincidence. They'll accurately predict that a seemingly perfect couple will break up within 6 months, that a booming business is about to collapse, or that a quiet coworker is about to become the next big innovator, and when it happens, they'll shrug it off as lucky guessing. The emotional sponge syndrome. Absorbing everything, processing nothing. INFJs don't just understand emotions, they absorb them like a sponge absorbs water. Walk past an INFJ after you've had a bad day, and they'll probably feel your frustration before you've even said hello. It's not empathy in the traditional sense, it's more like emotional telepathy. But here's the problem. When you're constantly absorbing everyone else's emotions, when do you have time to process your own? INFJs are so busy feeling everyone else's feelings that they often lose track of what belongs to them. They're like emotional air traffic controllers, managing everyone else's arrivals and departures while their own flights are stuck in a holding pattern. This emotional overload leads to a weird kind of numbness about their own achievements. They helped someone through depression? Well, they were just doing what anyone would do. They wrote something that moved people to tears? They were just expressing what everyone was already feeling. They can't see their greatness because they're too exhausted from carrying everyone else's emotional baggage to recognize they're doing something extraordinary. The behind-the-scenes syndrome. Invisible impact. INFJs are like the stage crew of life, essential for the show to go on, but rarely in the spotlight. They're the ones who remember everyone's birthday, who notice when someone's struggling before they ask for help, who quietly fix problems before most people even know there was an issue. But because this work happens behind the scenes, it often goes unrecognized, especially by the INFJs themselves. Think about it. How do you quantify preventing a crisis that never happened? How do you measure the value of a conversation that changed someone's perspective? How do you take credit for inspiring someone when they don't even realize you planted the seed? INFJs are constantly creating ripple effects that transform lives, but because they can't see the full impact of those ripples, they assume they're just dropping pebbles in an empty pond. They're the friend who texts you right when you need it most, but they think it's coincidence. They're the colleague who always knows the right thing to say, but they assume everyone has this ability. They're the family member who holds everyone together, but they think they're just doing what family does. Their greatness is so woven into the fabric of daily life that it becomes invisible, especially to them. The depth versus recognition problem. In a world of hot takes and viral content, INFJs are writing doctoral dissertations. While everyone else is racing to be first, INFJs are making sure they're right. While others are going wide, INFJs are going deep. So deep that most people can't even follow them down there. This depth is absolutely a form of greatness, but it's not the kind that gets recognized in our fast-paced, surface-level world. INFJs will spend months researching a topic, understanding it from every angle, connecting it to 12 other seemingly unrelated concepts, and then create something profound. But because it takes time to appreciate depth, because it requires attention and contemplation, their work often gets overlooked in favor of something flashier but ultimately less substantial. They're creating gourmet meals in a world that's addicted to fast food. They're writing symphonies when everyone wants 3-minute pop songs. They're painting masterpieces while everyone else is taking selfies. And because the world doesn't slow down long enough to appreciate what they're offering, they start to believe that maybe they're the problem. Maybe they're too complicated, too intense, too much. The authenticity struggle, being real in a filtered world. INFJs have this almost painful need to be authentic, but authenticity doesn't always photograph well, you know? They're not good at self-promotion because self-promotion feels fake. They can't network effectively because small talk makes their soul hurt. They struggle with social media because reducing their complex thoughts to hashtags feels like betrayal. But here's the thing, their authenticity is exactly what makes them great. In a world full of people pretending to be something they're not, INFJs are refreshingly, sometimes uncomfortably real. They're the ones who'll have the difficult conversations everyone else is avoiding. They're the ones who'll stand up for what's right even when it's unpopular. They're the ones who'll be vulnerable when everyone else is posturing. The problem is, authenticity doesn't come with a scorecard. There's no metric for times you were true to yourself when it would have been easier to conform. There's no award for most genuine human being in the room. So INFJs look at all the people playing the game successfully and think they're failing, not realizing they're actually playing a completely different, and much more important, game altogether. The inner critic's megaphone, when your worst enemy lives in your head. If INFJs had a nemesis, it wouldn't be some external villain. It'd be the voice in their own head. You know, that charming inner critic that sounds suspiciously like every person who ever made them feel not enough. This voice doesn't just whisper doubts. It's got a megaphone and a PhD in psychological warfare. Every achievement gets minimized. Anyone could have done that. Every compliment gets deflected. They're just being nice. Every success gets attributed to luck. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. It's exhausting being your own worst enemy, but INFJs have turned it into an art form. The really twisted part is that INFJs are usually incredibly compassionate toward others' mistakes and failures. They'll spend hours convincing a friend that one mistake doesn't define them, that failure is just learning in disguise, that everyone deserves grace and second chances. But when it comes to themselves, suddenly they're judge, jury, and executioner, holding themselves to impossible standards that they'd never impose on anyone else. The energy management crisis, running on empty while filling others' tanks. INFJs are like smartphones with amazing features but terrible battery life. They can do incredible things, provide deep insights, offer transformative guidance, create meaningful connections, but they drain fast, especially when they're constantly giving themselves away without recharging. Here's what happens. An INFJ spends all day being on for other people. They're solving problems at work, supporting friends through drama, keeping family dynamics balanced, and probably volunteering for 3 different causes because they can't say no when someone needs help. By the time they get home, they're running on fumes, too exhausted to work on their own projects or even recognize their own needs. This energy depletion creates a vicious cycle. They're too tired to pursue their own greatness, which makes them feel like they're not achieving anything meaningful, which makes them compensate by helping others more, which drains them further. They're literally too busy being everyone else's hero to realize they're already heroic. Breaking free, the path to recognizing your own greatness. So what's an INFJ to do? How do you start seeing your own greatness when your brain is wired to focus on everything else? Well, first off, you gotta understand that recognizing your greatness isn't about ego, it's about accuracy. It's about seeing yourself as clearly as you see others. Start by documenting your impact. Yeah, I know it feels weird and self-congratulatory, but trust me on this one. Keep a journal of the moments when you helped someone, when your intuition was right, when your work made a difference. Not for anyone else to see, just for you. Because your memory will lie to you, tell you these moments didn't happen or didn't matter. But written proof? That's harder to argue with. Next, practice receiving compliments like a normal human being. When someone says you did something great, resist the urge to deflect, minimize, or immediately compliment them back. Just say, thank you, and sit with the discomfort. Let it sink in that maybe, just maybe, they actually mean it. Find your people, other INFJs, or folks who get the whole depth over surface thing. You need mirrors who can reflect your greatness back to you accurately, not the funhouse mirrors that society provides. These people will help you see that what you consider normal is actually extraordinary. Conclusion: the greatness that was always there. Here's the truth bomb that every INFJ needs to hear. Your greatness isn't something you need to achieve, earn, or prove. It's already there, woven into the very fabric of who you are. It's in your ability to see patterns others miss, to feel depths others can't reach, to create connections others can't forge. Your greatness is in the lives you've changed without seeking credit. It's in the crises you've prevented that no one knows about. It's in the depth of understanding you bring to a surface-level world. It's in your refusal to be fake in a world that rewards facades. It's in your ability to hold space for others' pain while somehow still functioning. It's in the art you create, the words you write, the love you give even when you think it's not enough. The world needs what INFJs have to offer, now more than ever. We need the depth in a shallow world. We need authentic connection in a digital age. We need the wisdom that comes from actually listening, actually caring, actually seeing beyond the surface. We need the healers, the guides, the quiet revolutionaries who change the world one deep conversation at a time. So to every INFJ reading this, feeling like you're not enough, like your contributions don't matter, like everyone else has it figured out while you're still searching, you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not lacking. You are rare, you are needed, and yes, whether you can see it or not, you are already great. The journey isn't about becoming great. It's about finally recognizing the greatness that was there all along, hidden beneath the layers of self-doubt, perfectionism, and comparison. It's about understanding that your way of being in the world, deep, authentic, intuitive, caring, isn't just valid, it's invaluable. Your greatness might not look like everyone else's, and that's exactly the point. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else's success. It needs the unique medicine that only you can provide. It needs your specific flavor of magic, especially if you can't quite see it yourself yet.